guys? Yet again, you know who this is. It is me, the comic guy. And in this video, I'm going to be focusing on it. Pretty much a lot of people already know, but this is my opinion on what this topic is. And pretty much it's on the DCWB. It seems as the WB has hired a new DC president for DC films. He's going to be in charge of pretty much all the DC movies at Warner Brothers. His name is Walter Hamada, and I'm going to read to you pretty much what it's all about. So there's a new head of DC films at Warner Brothers, and he's not who you might expect. Following the disappointment of Justice League, and guaranteed, I actually liked the movie. I know the storyline wasn't what a lot of people expected, but the movie itself was pretty good, except for a couple of things that was, pretty much I'm like, what? But other than that, the movie was pretty good. I cannot give it like 100%. I will give it probably like an 85% on the movie itself. But other than that, I actually pretty much like the movie. But following the disappointment of Justice League, it was reported that the studio was going to shake things up a bit and restructured the way in which their DC movies are made. As part of that, they decided to hire a new person to take charge of DC films. It's being reported that Walter Hamada, he was the executive producer of It, and also, other movies. He actually came from New Line Studios. He was the executive producer, so he pretty much knows a lot about movies. He might not know a lot about comic books, and I know that a lot of people are actually worrying about that part because he's not a comic book fan. But in this instance right now, I think that DC needs somebody that knows about movies and have his people that knows about comic with him, and pretty could show him what the movie is all about. The comic book part is. Maybe he starts reading comic books and know a lot of the stories. But as part of that, they've decided to hire a new person to take charge of DC films. It's been reported that Walter Hamada, producer of It, is the man who's been tapped to take the reign of future DC movies. Walter Hamada will serve as president of DC Films Production, replacing John Berg and Geoff Johns, who previously headed up the operations. The new report notes that Johns, a comic book writer turned studio head, will still be a key part of the operations as president and chief creative officer. So they still have Geoff Johns in the picture. He is a big key part because he's actually going to stay as the president and chief creative officer. So he has, he goes to Walter Hamada and say, hey, this is that. And then Walter Hamada will pretty much say, yes or nay, whatever it may be. He will reportedly work closely with Hamada in his new capacity. Here's what the head of Warner Brothers, Toby Emmerich, had to say about the movie in a statement. Walter is creative, resourceful, and committed to excellence, and will bring those qualities to his oversight of our superheroes films. I'm confident Walter and Geoff, working with our filmmaking partners, will deliver films that will resonate with both broad global audience as well as DC fanboys and fangirls. With that part, and I saw a couple of videos, and a lot of people take offense to being called a fanboy or fangirl, because there's a difference. If you are a fan of comic books, you know the in and outs of the comic books. I'm a fan of comic books. I know a lot about comic books. I can't say I've been updated what's been going on lately, but I'm a fan of comic books. As you can see behind me, I have a whole bunch of other comic book stuff. I'm not a fanboy, because if I'm not going to like a movie, I'm going to tell you, hey, I don't like this movie, or pretty much like Justice League. Yes, I liked the movie, but there was many things wrong with the movie itself. Being the character of Superman, the way they did Man of Steel, I didn't think Superman was that dark and broody. He's supposed to be this all-out Boy Scout of a hero. He's that's the way that Superman is. Batman, that they're pretty close to him. Flash was okay. We don't know what's gonna be Aquaman. Let's see what's gonna happen with Aquaman when it comes out this December. Wonder Woman was a wonderful movie. Suicide Squad, I think they focused too much on two characters. When Suicide Squad is supposed to be a whole squad, and you're supposed to pretty much focus on all the characters, and they only focus on the Will Smith and Margot Robbie character. Harley Quinn and oh my god. And so they focus too much on two characters when they're supposed to focus on everything else. But it was an okay movie, even though it made $800 million in the box office. BVS, some of the problems there. Like I said, they had Superman brooding so much, but Superman is more like a Boy Scout, real good, alien human, because the way that the Kents, raised them. So kind of changing him into this dark character, kind of like, pretty much ruined what we all thought. So I'm a fan. Fanboys are the ones that say, hey, I love the movie, no matter, regardless of what it is. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not gonna say that, but let me keep on going. The fact that there is a new head of DC Films at Warner Brothers isn't at all surprising. Wonder Woman may have been a massive critical and commercial success, but that proves to be the outlier of the DCEu so far. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Suicide Squad both made money at the box office, but were trashed by critics. Justice League, which had the impossible task of following Wonder Woman, went through a troublesome and very expensive production, which resulted in lukewarm reviews and fan response. Most importantly, the movie has dramatically underperformed, bringing in just $651.1 million to date. As for Walter Hamada, his work for the last decade at New Lines, a division of Warner Brothers, so it's not like they went ahead and went somewhere else, it's a line of Warner Brothers, has an outstanding track record as a producer there. He was a key figure in getting The Conjuring made and helped get the spin-offs such as Annabelle Creations in motion. Today, The Conjuring movies have made more than $1 billion. He also was a key figure in getting the It remake made, which was a massive critical success and outgrossed Justice League, bringing in $698 million worldwide. The big difference, that movies was made for $35 million. Hamada may not be as familiar with DC, but he's got an excellent track record in movies. I mean, he brought The Conjuring, he brought the spin-off like Annabelle. So he, like in the horror genre, he's real good at that. Bringing him, they say that he's very picky. He's very, he's one of those, I need to have a perfect setup. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're actually going to bring in the long run of the movie. And that's actually pretty cool that he's going to focus on the movie side because he's good as the movies. And having Geoff John being creative officer is going to help him because he could introduce him into comic books. Maybe he's going to start reading comic books and know what it is. Basically going from there. Let's see. It said that Walter Hamada will oversee any comic book movies that Warner Brothers decide to make in the future, DC or otherwise. He also has a great relationship with Aquaman director James Wan. And as you know, James Wan is the one that directed Aquaman that we all can't wait to see. That's coming in December. That's going to be a big turning point. And it said that with James Wan reportedly, Variety reports that Courtney Valenti, producer of the Harry Potter movies, will continue to serve as president of production at Warner Brothers, in addition to Diane Nelson, who will still serve as DC Entertainment chief. So they haven't changed, but they changed, and that's a big step for WB. I know a lot of fans and are like, hey, but this guy doesn't know about comic books. What about being, having somebody that knows about comic books not coming in? Well, you think about it. They did have a comic book, and I'm not going to... There's a big difference between Geoff Johns. He's a great comic book creator. His stories in the comic books are awesome. I cannot deny that. His stories are awesome. I read a couple of his comic books, and they were awesome. The storylines are excellent. But he doesn't know about films. Zack Snyder wasn't really like... I always think about this, and this is my personal opinion about this. If you are going to be directing a movie, regardless of what the movie is, if it's horror or if it's superhero movies or action movie, it's good to go in and say, okay, I'm going to read. Let's see, I'm making a Superman movie, for instance. Before they made the Batman's Man of Steel, it's like I'm going to go ahead and do a Batman movie. Or a Superman movie. I'm sorry, a Superman movie. I will kind of read a little bit about the Superman. Go back. How was Superman back in the day? How was Superman after Flashpoint? In the New 52. How is Superman now? And I would get those bases of that hero and bring them into the character that's going on now. And it's not bases. And then you must also think, everybody blames like your director. Everybody blames... If the director is the one writing and directing the movie, then yes, you get to blame the director. But if you have writers that already wrote the movie, that don't know much about comic books, and they wrote a comic book movie, and they go and get a director to direct this, even though he oversees he's the project, it's not going to come out good. I mean, they changed completely what Superman was to us, and they made him into this dark, brooding man. Even though the movie was good, bringing back Superman, I think Henry Cavill did an excellent job as Superman. He was like, boom, he looked like this Superman, but he was dark and broody. Like, Superman wasn't always dark and broody. He was this uplifting symbol of justice and hope for a lot of people for many, many years, and they changed him to that. The same thing with Batman. Now, Batman is a brooding type. Not in a brooding type kind of way, but Batman was that scary, coming from the dark, coming from the shadows kind of hero. And a lot of the movies, even though I liked all the Dark Knight movies, I liked Michael Keaton as Batman. I liked all the Batman movies except probably Batman and Robin. Yeah, I didn't really like that movie. Other than that, they never based Batman on what he really is. A lot of the comic books based on being the detective type. I think Matt Reeves actually wants to go and do the Batman in a section of the detective side of Batman. I think that's pretty awesome. We don't know what's going to happen if Walter Hamada is going to be like, okay, let's go ahead and make the Flashpoint movie and go ahead and reboot the whole DCEu and then go from there. Gal Gadot is still going to be Wonder Woman. I think she still wants to do it with Patty Jenkins, and they're going to do Wonder Woman 2. And they said it's going to be very different from part 1. Aquaman is coming out now, so we got to see what Aquaman is going to be. Let's see how what kind of success Aquaman is going to come out. Shazam is in the making. And that's going to be interesting to see, because Shazam is one of those characters that has, is a kid that turned into a superhero, very powerful superhero. So let's see if it's going to be if they're going to have the comedic side of it, or is it going to be different? And that's going to be, what we have to look for right now. From the DC slate right now, you have Wonder Woman in pre-production. You have Aquaman is coming out in December. and then you have Shazam. Don't know what they're gonna do after that. I think they should start doing the Flashpoint. If they're gonna go ahead and do anything, I think they should start doing the Flashpoint. Flashpoint should be the first movie after Aquaman they should do if they're gonna go ahead and reboot the whole DCU, because Flashpoint will be the perfect movie to reboot everything. But that's pretty much my opinion. They're bringing in a fresh eyes into DC with Walter Hamada, even though a lot of people was like saying that he's not a comic book. But maybe that's what DC needs. Maybe they need somebody that to oversee the movie part, and then have Geoff Johns being chief creator of the DC creative side, and still have his input on what it should be done, and go from there. What did you guys think about the whole news with Walter Hamada being the new president of DC Films? Let me know down below. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys actually think about that. This is pretty much my opinion about it. It's good. It will have to be proven. Let's see what's gonna happen in the first film under Walter Hamada, and then we could go from there and see what's gonna happen. That's gonna be the most interesting movie, because we all gonna be waiting for. Can you bring it, Walter Hamada? Can you bring it? That's pretty much what's gonna be the whole thing. Other than that, that's pretty much on the big news on that one. I know you guys probably already heard it, but it is pretty much my opinion about the whole thing. I think it's gonna be. I'm like a 75% to 25% of the 25% being bad, 75% being good, as having fresh eyes and somebody that knows how to do movies instead of somebody that write comic books. Maybe his eyes in movies would be a good thing. And now with him being like knowing a lot about horror movies, maybe Justice League Dark will be the next movie that's going to come out. But we don't know. We have to actually see what the slate of the DC film is going to be. Other than that, guys, this is the Comic Guy. Thank you again for coming into one of my videos. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification so you can know when I'll come out with my next video. Thank you very much, like always. And like always, peace.